Hey Nikki, I got a whole bunch of stuff implemented into the game. Yeah, I was talking to you earlier about full screen mode, but I guess Newgrounds doesn't support full screen. Um, it doesn't seem to be working, so that'll probably just be a feature for the Steam version. If the Steam version is released, hopefully it will be. And man, I gotta say, I was playing it today on my 48-inch screen, my big screen TV in my living room. I hooked my computer up to it just to see, just to get the stuff to work and to program it all in. And man, it really looked good. It was awesome to play it on the full screen. I was worried that it wouldn't scale very well, but all the graphics do scale extremely well, and it all looks great. So yeah, man, I got the HUD in place here. Really looks good. Got the pause meant the going, as you can kind of see here. Giving the player some options. Just playing the game here. So, we had talked about doing the gems at the well, underneath of that, and I'm kind of fine with it being a drawing event. I have to eventually do it a drawing event no matter what, because I need to draw in the number of gems the player has. At first I was potentially maybe gonna do like the bag of gold that we have in our power up or something like that. And I don't know if you got a really good idea of how you want to display the gems. You can definitely relay that to me, and we'll take a look at it. But for right now, I mean, I'm completely fine with this. I think it looks great. Everything looks good. You can see I'm gonna damage myself here, and you can see the heart went off the way it should. And then I should have a special. If I could actually collect that without wasting any special. And you can see how it changes its animation when you have your full special bar, which I think looks really good. And then boom, you can see how my heart increased once I hit the ultimate. So everything is working on the HUD, and it looks really good. I really like everything. Probably not going to use that backdrop. I really appreciate the backdrop, but I don't think we need it. I think everything just looks really good. Anyway, just wanted to get all that stuff in. So yeah, like now there's a pause, and you can press enter to go back to the vortex. Things are just more on the everything just is starting to get tightened up. So you can see now when you play this boss. Excuse me, I do things a little bit differently than what we have been doing in the past. You kill this guy, and then the bonus thing comes up, but now instead of just saying press escape, then the escape button no longer brings you back to the vortex. Now it is all through the pause. Now I actually have this little event in here, and it's just a timed event that kills the player and sends them back to the vortex. And I'm actually going to make that a little bit better when the player dies, but that's going to be a different work order. Just going over a few things, showing you the state of the game. And how nicely everything's coming along. But what I wanted to get into was, you had talked to me before about doing skins for the character, and I really like that idea, but I think that's maybe something that I'd save for like the Steam version or something, because it will be quite a few animations that we'd have to redo. But that being said, I think something that would be really cool would be if we did every single time you evolve the sword, not only would it get bigger, but it would also change the look. And I actually have it fully programmed in the game, but I have it dismantled because you can see here I did like second, third, fourth, fifth, and I just drew these big drawing events on the screen. And basically it's a code that reads, if sword level equals 5, between 5 and 10 when created, do this animation. When sword level between 10 and 15, do this animation on creation. And basically what it does is, if we had different animations for this guy, if I dialed these up with some really good stuff that you could do for me, the sword attack could be completely different looking. So I mean, the big thing with this game is, because it is a difficult game, and I want to make sure that players really get the addictive part of the upgrading. So when people die, they won't, or they'll be encouraged to replay bosses to hit a jackpot. I want to make sure that the upgrading is really addictive. So I want to visually stimulate the player, and making it not only look a little bit bigger, but also make it look much cooler too. And that's why I kind of gave the buff to the guns too. Once you hit level 10 on the guns, you get a huge buff, and then those purple orbs come out. It's just much more visually stimulating to the player. And I was actually thinking about going up to a total of maybe even 6 different evolutions, or 5 different evolutions. So right now the character gets maxed at 20 with its evolutions. I was thinking about actually kicking that up a notch to go to 25. The player can infinitely level if they wanted to, but it stops evolving after 25. If they have the gold. I mean, gold gets absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, that being said, so right here I have 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So when players hit level 5, it would go to the number 2 animation. When players hit number 10, it would go to the 3rd. When players hit 15, it would go to the 4th. And then when players hit level 20, it would go to the 5th. So what I was going to do is I'm going to send you this sword. And let me know how much of a pain in the butt you think this is going to be. And if you think it's going to be too much of a pain in the butt to do, or what, we can do without it. But I think it would really help. So the biggest thing with this is staying within this transparency, because everything relies on being within this transparency. Because right now, when the sword is created, I have it follow the player, and as it grows, I actually had to rewrite the code. It's actually quite involved. So every single time it evolves, it grows by 50% or so, and I actually have to retweak the X and Y axis in which it follows the player. So all of that stuff is working silky smooth right now. So the biggest thing with this is to stay within this transparency. And you can see the sword's pretty small. I mean, this is a small sprite. It's 128 by 144. I think even before you evolve it, I actually grow it a little bit. So, I mean, the biggest thing is it's got to kind of stay within this frame of transparency and stay kind of sort of within, the confines of the size of the sword, because the sword gets grown within stencil. So, you wouldn't want to come in here and like grow the sword all the way down to here, or draw the sword all the way down to here, because then that would, my player is going to be sitting somewhere like in here, so it would end up going through them. So basically you can take every single frame that we have and just doll it up. So I'm going to give you all of these files, and then frame by frame we can do 6 different ones where you can go in here and zoom in and just make these things different. I mean, I don't know, I'd actually be curious to see what your idea would be to make them quote unquote more elite. I mean, like I even said, I had originally thought like as it evolves it turns into like this golden sword or something, because right now it's basically a red sword with fire. I mean, maybe we first start out with like the first evolution on just kind of maybe like accentuating these flames a little bit, maybe just like make all this stuff, a little bit more accentuated and make it pop a little bit more. Maybe make the sword pop a little bit more. And the biggest thing too is especially the later ones, like, the first animation can be, it should look, more elite. The second animation more elite. And the third and the fourth and the fifth one really, really elite and massive and menacing looking. But, you got to stay within the bounds of the sword that's presented to you. And the more, as the evolutions go on, the different animations, the more intricate that you do, the better, because that's when the sword actually gets grown. So, as the sword gets grown, obviously the pixels get a little bit distorted, and you can kind of see that within the game. So the more and more dolled up the sword looks, the tighter it's going to end up looking as it gets grown for the later animation. So I'm curious to see what you would think about this. I mean, we can maybe, I don't know what you think. I mean, I don't know if you feel comfortable manipulating these sprites. I mean, I fully own the IP to these sprites. These were made by Lewis. Louis. He did them for me. But you know, if I fully own the sprites, I can do whatever I want to with them, which involves giving them to you. So let me know what you think about this. It's a small sprite. I know this is kind of a unique task. We haven't done anything like this before. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, let me know, or if you don't think it's worth the effort, because I know it's 5 frames, or it's 9 frames. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 10 frames, but the 10th one and the first one aren't really much. I mean, you could probably keep like the first 1, 2 frames the same, and the last 2 frames the same. So I mean, it's mainly just the bulk here. I mean, I'll send you them all, but you know, I really just want to make sure that as we do it, you know, the sword is represented in the same way, and that it is within this transparency. You know, we just make it more and more elite looking, so you can see, like, you know, maybe whether that means accentuating the fire a little bit, and like I had always said from the beginning, you know, maybe putting some of your really cool lighting effects that you do on some of your awesome sprites. I don't know how easy that would be to manipulate a sprite that's already done like this. You know, that's not really my forte. Like adding those gems in. I think you probably are under the impression that these sprites are a little bit larger than they are, since they're grown so much in stencil. So I don't know if that's going to be a big problem or not, because the sprites are quite small. So let me know, you know, what you're thinking. I mean, you can see how small this thing is as you zoom it in. So I mean, you basically I'd be tasking you with the hard task of kind of making this look more and more elite, and we would need, for right now, I think we'll stick with just 5. I think for the Steam version, I think that's when I'm going to lift the evolution cap a little bit. If we end up getting like the deal with, you know, Armor Games, I'll be like, I'm going to probably just go full bore, you know, and just be like, all right, I'm going to dump some more money in this game. I'm going to get a couple more backgrounds. We'll get some more enemies, you know, and it's just going to, the whole process is going to start all over again. But at that point, maybe we'll do like 2 more evolutions, and we'll do more high tiered coins and stuff like that to keep the player going, because obviously there'll be a lot more game involved. So I think for right now, just the 5 different ones. So maybe like the second, like the first one obviously stays the same, but then when players hit level 5, it grows by 50%, and then maybe like the flames get accentuated. You know, level 3, or which would be like level 10 for the player, you know, it'll grow another 50%, and then maybe we accentuate the flames a little bit more, and like start, you know, redefining like the hilt a little bit, or redefining the blade a little bit. Maybe level 4, it starts turning into like a golden sword, and then maybe like the 5th one, it turns into a sword with like diamonds, or maybe the evolutions start a little bit earlier, even, you know, however cool you want to make the sword look. I just think that the players would really, really appreciate that, you know, like the cooler we can make the upgrades look in this game, the more addicting it's going to be, and it's going to be, you know, it's going to be more fun for the player to play the games, and they'll be okay with death, you know, because even if they die during the level, they'll be like, oh shit, look, I got all this gold, I can spend this, and then they'll be more inclined to replay bosses and so forth. So let me know what you think about this.